Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am Kanchi Shah, and it gives me immense pleasure in welcoming you all to the AI Imperatives Unlocking the Future of Finance webinar, brought to you by Dell Technologies, Intel, and Strategy. Ladies and gentlemen, the BFSI industry has witnessed a paradigm shift owing to the technological evolution. While almost every industry is exploring how artificial intelligence and machine learning can be used to help them, nowhere is it more pronounced than in the financial services industry. Dell Technologies and Intel have come together with a first of its kind virtual event themed around the AI imperatives, unlocking the future of finance, focused on the real world need for endpoint modernization with the infusion of sophisticated AI ML capabilities in the infra layer. This to address complex issues and seize opportunities with computing to drive accelerated innovation and hyper competitiveness. Ladies and gentlemen, we request you to please address your questions to our speakers using the Q&A option on your screens. We would also request you to please fill out the feedback form towards the end of the webinar proceedings. Please feel free to mention any suggestions or comments that you have. Your feedback will help us enhance the content, structure, and delivery of our conferences. Today, in our midst, we have very eminent business, IT, and technology leaders. And please join me as I welcome for the first segment, Mr. Amol Pai, Chief Technology Officer, State Bank of India, who's in a conversation with Mr. Arjun Vishwanathan, Chief Knowledge Officer, Strategy. They will be speaking to us on AI and the future of banking. Over to you, Arjun.
Hello and welcome. I'm Arjun Vishwanathan, and I'm going to be in conversation with a very, very eminent leader from the banking industry to talk about the AI imperatives and unlocking the future of finance, especially to do with the whole ecosystem of modernization that is rampant within the banking industry. And to discuss all of this with me and more, please put your hands together to welcome Amol Pai, Chief Technology Officer at the State Bank of India. Amol, welcome. Delighted and privileged, sir.
Thank you very much for this invite. It's always a pleasure to speak with you and the kind of topics that you bring for the conversation.
Thank you.
Makes me think and keeps the gray cells stimulated.
Thank you so very much, Amol. Amol, I'm going to make the maximum of the time that we have. Over the last 2 years, especially with all the disruption that's been caused by the pandemic, what, according to you, has drastically changed in the banking space, the banking ecosystem, especially because technology is more at the forefront now than perhaps ever before?
This point has been talked a lot in terms of what is it that the pandemic has done. So one thing which is clearly evident is the rate of digital adoption has changed a lot. So earlier we would have these campaigns to bring people on board to say that please use the digital product, whatever we have created for you. But now we are in a situation where customers themselves give feedback and say that we want this as a digital product. We want this as a solution so that we don't have to visit it, or I can do these activities from the convenience of my home. So much so that they have started digging out certain companies which are offering it as a product, and they say that if they can do it, why is it that you are not doing it? So these demands have increased a lot. So that is a given. Now digital adoption is no longer about convincing someone to use a product, but they demand for it. That's the first change that has happened. The second change that has happened here is that technology is the lever for driving business. Now, this point, though it was always there in any kind of strategic discussions that would happen in the boardroom, now it is front and center. What is it that you are doing in technology to deliver X, Y, Z? So that's the second change which has happened. So obviously, the constraints of budgets, the constraints of, why you want to do this particular project, those have fairly diminished is what I would say. Now the question asked is that I can give you X amount of budget. What is the kind of value that you can deliver out of it? So these are the kind of conversations that are happening. So nobody questions the technology that will be used. They question more in terms of the value that the technology can deliver. Okay, so these conversations have shifted. And third, I would say is that the entire aura around this machine learning and artificial intelligence, deep learning, it has gone away. I mean, and I strongly believe it's a good thing that it has happened, because now it is no longer what do you say, a fancy item. It is now, the question is that what is it that it can deliver? Now it is no longer a question of, oh wow, it can deliver. Those discussions have ended for sure, right? So people have started looking at practical implications of machine learning, AI, deep learning, what value it can deliver. So nobody can do a sales pitch and say that, by the way, I also have AI ML in it. That doesn't cut ice at all anymore. Now it is more about saying that I have AI ML. This is what the other product does, but with AI ML, I am now able to do these 5 things. Correct. So that practicality has set in now. And the fourth and the most important point here is that, given that AI ML is now so important for delivering digital products, for expediting the delivery cycles, the infrastructure has also changed a lot. I mean, the ecosystem has also changed a lot. Therefore, it is now easy for us to find a platform on which these services can be deployed. We now have a choice between using what is available on the cloud or on a private cloud setup versus even developing it. But the development times are very short because somebody has already created that particular model and I just have to use and adopt it. So all in all, I would say in the last 2 years, these are the major changes that have happened, not just in the banking space, but in all the sectors. And it is enabling the push for AI, ML and getting value out of it.
Look, I couldn't agree more with you, Amol, because I do want to bring in one particular observation, one particular situation that I think all of you faced, the entire banking sector during the lockdowns, the multiple ones that we've had, which was the imperative for the banking sector is to enable fiscal and banking inclusion, which is bring more of the unbanked into the banking fold, as well as obviously continue to work closely with your existing customers to increase wallet share and do so much more in that sense of the word. With a hybrid workplace and a hybrid workforce of sort that's kind of established itself, how do you see technology and perhaps my ability to work with as much technology as a simple laptop or a workstation being able to achieve this in the measure that you have?
See, the thing is, I always believe that it is the mobile which has revolutionized the adoption of digital and not the laptop, because the laptop or the desktop, according to me, is a very sterile device. It's more of a keyboard and a screen. But you look at the mobile these days, and I mean, it is because of the mobile that the entire digital adoption and the new models of digital adoption has come in. Because now it is no longer a case of a person accessing a website. It is about where the person is located, what is the temperature or the altitude where the person is located, the way he is holding the particular phone. Is there any, I mean, you can also in a way derive the mood and behavior of the person in the way the person is holding the phone and he's typing in certain keyboards. I mean, the fact that you press too much when you type a particular statement, like if you're doing a fund transfer, you can jolly well find out that whether he is doing a fund transfer in a good mood or in a rotten mood based on the way he writes the comments also, right? I mean, the key press also tells you that.
True.
Yeah. So these are the kind of insights that are coming from the mobile phone, which never came from a PC or a laptop, right? And even if you look at the way the PCs and the laptops are evolving, they are becoming sleeker and more sexier, if I could use the word.
Indeed.
But they still are nowhere close to what a mobile can offer, right? So I do believe that if there is some more evolution that has to happen on the desktop and the laptop space, I think they need to somehow try to mimic what a
Mobile phone does.
Yeah, mobile
But
phone.
Amol, isn't it also true that when you look at Arjun Vishwanathan's activities on your app, on any app, on a banking app, there's so much of data that's being generated today. Most of it is being stored from the bank's perspective at the edge, which is wherever I'm working. And therefore, the need or the imperative for more powerful laptops or workstations, like you just articulated, especially those that are infused with AI and ML at an underlying layer, become helpful for banks to be able to become more agile in collecting that information and acting on it in near real time.
Yes. So Arjun, maybe I'm just trying to I'm digressing a little bit, but I'll again come back to this
Please do.
point. See, the thing is, like the JAM Trinity drove financial inclusion. I strongly believe it will be IoT, 5G, and Edge which will drive the next wave of banking and customer behavior. When I mean IoT, I mean any and every device which enables capturing data other than what a laptop has been traditionally doing. Correct. So I don't feel that making the end device more and more powerful is the answer over here. I would say using an edge, an IoT, which does the data transfer so that compute power, which is available at a relevant point in time, can be harnessed, is the way ahead. And I'm pretty sure all the the manufacturers, the OEMs will find a sweet spot. We will have situations where laptops, given that, I mean, now that a i5 is becoming a standard as compared to an i3 in the past, right? But you rarely use the full power of i5. So what do you do with the remaining compute power? And that's where this entire passive computing or background computing comes into play. So the analysis keeps happening in the background, the profile of that particular person is built, and then over a period of time, the merged data is passed on back to the main server, and then you get all your relevant offers and schemes and whatever can be offered to that particular person. So yes, so with the increase in the compute at the laptops end or at the device end, I do believe that there will be exciting models coming in where some kind of passive computing will happen in the background. A good example would be the SETI project, which was run by NASA, wherein you give your screensaver space to detect, run through images to find out if there is any kind of special activity happening. Right? So the same way, we will end up seeing this even in the laptop and the computer space.
No, I couldn't agree more, but there's also one additional question that persists, which is that in a hybrid kind of a workplace, even for banks, it's so much more easier today to look at talent from the gig economy without the constraints or the restrictions of a geographical boundary called the workspace. In that kind of a scenario, Amol, are you witnessing or are you observing that a new generation of folks that are entering the workforce are equally demanding the levels of experience from an organization, from the bank, to be able to discharge their duties and their roles in a more efficient manner? And in that sense, do you feel that the machine that you give me to work and obviously interact with the organization leads and lends itself to the experience that an employee or a contract staff will experience?
Yes. See, it makes a difference because if I mean, obviously everyone asks for a powerful machine which looks sleek, and I mean these are these points I call it as the emotional part. It is not the commercial part or the practical part of it. But yes, giving a machine that really enables a person to do his or her particular activity in a seamless manner, like asking a person to say that you have to be connected to the internet and to my cloud setup at all points in time, it looks on the face of it, it looks very convenient, saying that yes, you are always connected and you can keep doing your job. But it is also a limitation because we don't know what is the kind of coverage that is available at the person. I mean, you could be in a well-connected area, but you are sitting in a place in a room where the network is not doing well, right? So automatically you have to give them capabilities to run offline also, because that is the flexibility that any and every developer would demand, that they should not be sitting at a specific position or a place to do that activity. So yes, powerful machines which can do the same compute offline, like even a compile activity, if they are supposed to run, we give them a slightly it's a less powerful machine, it adds to the frustration, and obviously their development cycle goes for it also. So these things have to be done. We have to give them powerful machines which not only enable them to do the compute, but they also enable them to run the models which they want to keep checking to see the outcome, so that they can keep enhancing it better. Yes, that demand. Yeah.
No, I quite agree with you, which is why I must ask you this, is that in an erstwhile kind of a scenario about 3, 4, 5 years back, workstations or the machine that I would work with were distributed in a more hierarchical fashion. Today, has the process reached a sense of maturity in CIOs and IT leaders such as yourselves being able to map the roles and the responsibilities and the activities to the machine that I must be working with? Or do you think they largely remain a more traditional hierarchy-bound concept? Especially
yes,
because within banks, there are very complex activities also.
yes. So Arjun, what has typically happened over a period of time here is that earlier, I would say there were budgets that were allocated based on the hierarchy, saying that you have this much budget to buy a particular device, correct? That budget was, for whatever reasons, thought to be the right way of allocating a device to a person. But now that has changed. Okay, what the change that has happened here is that now the budgets are allocated based on the type of device that the person is supposed to be allotted. So the more you go up in the hierarchy, you are given a business oriented device, correct? So business oriented device would mean that you have moderate compute power, but it is sleek, it is not heavy because you have to move from place X to place Y. And obviously, maybe I'll get some brickbats for saying this, but people in that category generally are the one who wear specs and who require a larger font size to do their activity.
True.
So they end up buying a device which is a 15-inch screen, so on and so forth. But the point is that the category now clearly says that you have to be given a device suitable for the activity that you do. As far as the developer role and all are concerned, the budgets have definitely increased because now the budget is driven by the fact that we have to enable the person to work better. So earlier that budget would have given that poor fellow maybe a R3 or an I3, but now that budgets have increased to give them at least a I5 or a R5 or upwards, correct? Even now people don't ask you why do you require 8 GB of RAM or 16 GB of RAM. If the person asks for 32 GB of RAM, it is given to them because it's an enabler. In fact, during the lockdown, there were discussions which were going on in terms of saying that along with the device, we should give them a second screen, a proper 108 keyboard and a mouse because they will be constrained and they might end up having RSA kind of the repetitive stress injury, RSI kind of situation. So all these thoughts have gone into play. So essentially, yes, I mean, to summarize it, the change has happened. Now, even if there is a hierarchy, the budgets are driven more by the purpose of giving the device rather than just a budget.
No, and I do have a view on the clock, Amol. I've come to a very important question, which is perhaps nowhere is security more important than in the banking ecosystem, not just because of regulation and compliance and governance, but also because of the vast amounts of fiscal data that you hold. In that sense, when you kind of couple that with the distributed workforce today, like an Arjun Vishwanathan sitting at home and working for and with the State Bank of India, does the ability for today's machines or tomorrow's machines, which are workstations and laptops, being powerful and therefore being embedded with AI and machine learning at their very software core, help the cause of security in a slightly more significant manner than erstwhile? And therefore, does it lessen the load of security or the burden of security from the CIO or the security leader's office?
Yes. So earlier cases, there would be rules which would have been given for a particular role. It says that role X is given these many rights because he's supposed to do activity A, B, C, correct? But when the person does activity A, B, and C, there is also a reason for the particular person to do activity D, E, F also, because that comes as part of the role but wouldn't have been thought through. So this is where that entire machine learning piece comes into play because it constantly assesses what Arjun is doing as part of his day-to-day profile. And that helps us to fine-tune the profile, saying that, yes, Arjun was given access to only A, B, and C, but given the nature of his work, he should be given C. Now, this is not like an end of day or an end of month kind of activity. This is now real-time feedback that keeps coming and it keeps telling the person saying that, do something about it because we are seeing this particular behavior. And this is where AI ML plays a very critical role. Also, the fact that because AI and ML is very much in play, it flags off a malicious activity before somebody tries to assess it in a batch mode, correct?
True.
So, no two thoughts about it. I mean, it is required, it is helping, and it is helping in the right way.
Amol, in conclusion, if I could ask you, as you sit today, and I know this is a fairly expansive question, and there's no real right answer. When you look ahead at the future of banking in India, what do you foresee? What do you foresee to be radically changing, such as will overall help in nation building too, while it has societal as well as obviously consumer impact?
According to me, what will happen going ahead here is that banking will become will be embedded into every activity that you do. So banking will become a service rather than you do internet banking or you do, say, a mobile banking. It will become integrated into services, because ultimately I as a person want a service to be rendered to me. I don't want banking to be rendered to me, correct? It's embedded into it. So over a period of time, a lot of these things like applying a loan will be as good as buying a product, but as a byproduct, you get a loan out. Correct. Now you do two activities wherein you first look at a product, then you see what is your loan eligibility, you apply for a loan, you take that amount, transfer it. So these changes are going to happen smoothly. These changes are going to happen over a period of time. So from a CTO's perspective, what I feel here is that it's important that we convert a lot of our offerings into services which can be embedded into the main requirements of the customer and not offer it as a standalone banking product. Yeah. So therefore, what it means is that there is going to be a change in the workflow. There is going to be a change in the way the assessment of the requirement is done. There is going to be a change in the way the impulse or the trigger for that particular product will come in. Now it is no longer a case of a person logging into an application, banking application, and clicking on the tile saying that I want this particular product. Now the case would be that maybe a fridge will say that you have to buy this particular product, and there it triggers a buy now pay later kind of situation, right? So the triggers are going to change. So exciting times.
Exciting times ahead. No, couldn't agree more. Amol, thank you so much. It has been nothing short of, as always, delightful trading views and dialogues with you. Thank you so much, Amol.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. And that was I in conversation with Amol Pai. Thank you and stay tuned. We'll be back with the next segment in just a moment.
Thank you very much, Amol. Thank you, Arjun, for that engaging and encouraging discussion. Up next, ladies and gentlemen, is a panel discussion on unlocking the future of finance. Hence, we have with us Mr. Raghunath Reddy, Executive Vice President, Information Technology for UTI Asset Management Company. Mr. Shubhajit Roy, Technology Advisor and ex-CIO, SBI Mutual Fund. They are in a conversation with Mr. Arjun Vishwanathan, Chief Knowledge Officer at Strategy. With that, I'd now like to hand it over to Arjun. Over to you.
Hello and welcome. I'm Arjun Vishwanathan. I'm going to be your host today. And well, what promises to be a very, very interesting conversation around how, as the BFSI sector by itself has witnessed or is witnessing a paradigm shift as a result of technological evolution, it is also very clear, present and evident that artificial intelligence and machine learning are ways of the future in finance. As they combine the power of advanced data processing with the ability to tackle fraud and improve enforcement. While almost every industry is exploring how AI and ML technologies can be used to help them, nowhere is it more pronounced than in the financial sector. And to talk to me about all of this and more on the concepts revolving around modernization of businesses, please put your hands together to welcome in no specific order, Mr. Shubhajit Roy, Technology Advisor and the former CIO of SBI Mutual Fund. Mr. Roy, welcome and delighted to have you with us, sir.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm glad to be part of this panel. Thank you very much.
And Mr. Raghunath Reddy, who's the Executive Vice President for IT at UTI Asset Management Company. Mr. Reddy, welcome, sir. We are delighted as equally.
Thank you, Arjun, and glad to be part of this conversation.
Wonderful. Mr. Reddy, with your permission, if I could come to you first. The sector over the last 2 years, the BFSI sector over the last 2 years has witnessed some dramatic changes, also because of lessons that we've learned as a natural fallout of the pandemic. In that sense of the word, how and what is your articulation and position on the overall modernization of business process and operating models that you're witnessing within the BFSI sector as a whole?
Right. So first of all, financial services industry has been never heard of working your businesses or say running your business processes from home. So it used to be always quite restricted access, and then to be working from your office environment. So the last 2 years has forced us to relook at the way we have doing business. It could be in terms of your business processes, from back office processes or your investment processes. Okay, all of these have been completely, relooked at it, and then you work towards making them always accessible, and then uh, to be used from wherever you are. So from that perspective, if you look at it in our industry, you have one on the investment side, the investment processes, the investment decision-making process, the investment execution process in the market. It's not that you alone would be able to perform this unless your whole industry is
True.
raised up and then are part of these ecosystem and they offer, you can't perform. So the whole industry, the financial services industry, being it is broking, investment management institutions, insurance, your clearing agencies, your exchanges, all of them had come up and then were able to perform from out of office throughout the last 2 years. So this also forced us to relook at some of the processes which were like completely run on in the office premises itself. It could be your decision-making process where you used to run it on a physical paper. Now if that's no longer there, then how do you perform that? So this forced us to relook at all those processes and how can we digitize and then make them independent of place, time, and person's availability. So that in the last 2 years, a lot of such businesses processes have been digitized, and then wherever there is a possibility for an automation, could be using through robotic process automation, or it could be through complete digitization and then immobilized paper movement. So a lot of such areas, the improvements are being done. So if you look at now, probably you can continue on business operations from out of your premises for longer period of time. And organizations are also looking at having learned from these 2 years experience. Why can't we, some of these jobs can permanently be done in offline mode? So that could be an
That's
interesting
an
use case
interesting
for.
set of points that you've made, Mr. Reddy. And with your permission, I'm going to take that to Mr. Roy. Mr. Roy, very supreme articulation from Mr. Reddy, where he spoke about one particularly interesting facet of modernization, which was the need to revisit, relook, perhaps reimagine traditional operating and business models from a digitalization perspective, or from through the lens of digitalization. From that perspective, Mr. Roy, my question to you really is, as the acceleration or the race towards embracing a digital native thought is concerned, what are the outcomes that organizations would classically expect in the journey of modernization?
As Raghunath said, see, I think according to me, there are multiple dimensions which we have seen over the last 2 years. It's not a single dimension. So one, as we said, dimension of digital transformation. So that also cuts across various technology, people, culture. So it has also layers in between. So digital transformation is one dimension. Another big dimension according to me is the cultural dimension, right? On the entire work culture, workplace culture, workforce culture. So there has been a dramatic shift which were accelerated by pandemic, which earlier, I think we were witnessing shift in both digital transformation as well as workplace transformation or modernization, whatever you call it. But those were really accelerated, accentuated by pandemic. So those are happening. And a lot of us were not very sure how things will pan out. So it is like you need to dive or go into a deep water without learning swimming. So somebody throw it to. So it happened like that. So it has really created a complete shift in the outlook, the mindset, and the capabilities and confidence within the IT and business team. So there's a huge shift. And one of the shifts is also modernization of workplace and modernization of the uh, devices and other computing capabilities, and also that we are seeing shifting of happening again from cloud computing to edge computing. So there are a lot of changes are happening, but it is too fast to most of the people to really grapple with that, and it is too complex also. So now it is duty of CIOs, IT leaders, how to make it also simplified. So that's another mantra everybody is trying to follow, how to really make it simplified, seamless, and manage it efficiently. Because too many products, too many layers, too many infrastructure, too many complexity is coming. Too many demands are coming from both sides, right? Digital journey as well as security and so many things. So there's a huge, there's a lot of transitions happening, but it is bound to happen, and a lot of confusion also is there. But I think things will emerge clear and clear as we progress.
Very true. It's actually interesting that you say that, because Mr. Reddy, if I could bring that to you. You see, both of you in your own very, very brilliant articulation spoke about the digital workplace, which is essentially a set of diverse and distributed employees across geographical spaces coming together to forge business outcomes day in and day out. By that measure, I also understand from my experience of having spoken to multiple CIOs over the last 18 months that one of the fears initially were about the ability to orchestrate adequate productivity, collaboration, and therefore be able to fuel innovation. In that sense, Mr. Reddy, what is your view on how this humble endpoint plays a very, very major role today in enabling organizations to drive superior productivity, drive more collaboration across geographical spaces, thus being able to not only deliver and continue to seamlessly deliver outcomes, also drive innovation?
Right. So when we talk about endpoints, now gone are the days where there is only corporate owned device, you consider that as an endpoint. Now that has gone, because with the work from home, so the employees suddenly started using their own devices also. So each employee has one more digital device, which is their own mobile application, and then probably a tablet device. So one user, now one corporate user, now you have 4 devices that have come in. So now you need to enable all your business operations probably across all these 4 devices. So that's a huge challenge if you don't provision for that, and then you securely make them a protected device to allow them to access your business applications. Okay, so that's one. In terms of enabling all your employees to be more productive and be able to be always communicable to your enterprise or say the external stakeholders, you need to have appropriate applications and then probably subscription for those applications and allow them to access it. So now there are various tools that are available currently to ensure that these endpoints that are going to connect to your corporate network are appropriately protected, and then appropriate monitoring mechanism, and then raise alerts when any incidents do happen, or you predict some incidents going to happen. So I think it's a fairly, I mean, large number of products and services are being and coming into the place to protect the information that are getting access from these devices. Of course, there is no end to that. So when it comes to productivity, probably you would be some organizations might have a concerns that okay, does all the 8 hours, 10 hours is before the machine and then he's carrying out. In fact, interestingly, there are some applications which are coming up and then going to tell you whether how long he was there. So probably that is
Indeed.
too much intrusion into the employees' productivity. I think somewhere there should be some balance that has to be struck, okay, by putting reliance on the trust on the employee.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more with you, because that's exactly what I want to bring to you, Mr. Roy, which is that today the classic view of the employee perhaps stands radically changed, because increasingly more is being expected out of each individual. That's number one. The second, obviously, is that vast amounts of data are today being generated at the endpoint, which is where you so nicely spoke about the whole concept of edge. Now, when you kind of piece all of this together, how do you see the convergence of human capital, which is today displaced in a manner of the word, and technology coming together to be able to fashion a digital core that will help your particular sectors flourish in ways that have perhaps not yet been imagined?
Yeah, so as I was trying to mention in my earlier response, and also as Raghunath said again, there are two things are happening parallels. So one is the relationship between employee or employer with the organization. So few years back, even 5 years back, the relationship between an organization and their workflows also. So that is, I think, going through a paradigm shift. Okay, so so people are really for shock. Okay, the way the fast in last 2 years, that kind of pace it has taken. But so one is a generational change, another is this pandemic has accentuated this change. So that's most of the people are grappling with that. How really? Because people expectation, as Raghunath said, like today people are expecting that I can, because traditionally all these organizations used to control their employees by perimeter, physical perimeter, as well as by devices, by rules and processes. So that control culture, I think, is breaking. So
I
that's
have also a complementary question to this, Mr. Roy, in continuation with what you were just mentioning, which is therefore, in your view, how do you think the decision or the journey will kind of pan out, where particularly different digital skills and activities, perhaps today more than ever before, require organizations to rely more on artificial intelligence and machine learning powered endpoints to be able to leverage the vast data to craft intelligent insights and therefore, forge newer products and services? How do you think that journey is going to pan out?
Yeah, so as he's saying, the two things are again becoming key. As everybody knows, another cliche word is a data. Data is the new word. So that is so obviously that is true. So entire organization, each and every employee of the organization has to be data driven, data savvy, data aware. Okay, so that is one side. Second side, you also have to need to serve the business. Okay, the customer, business. And the third is I'm talking cultural change, which is apart from pure cultural change, there is a cultural change in terms of being your own devices and other stuff, what Raghunath was telling. So there is a huge, if we see some of the surveys, huge shift or increase in the terms of data individual endpoints are handling, the kind of collaboration. I think collaboration has increased by 170% or odd among employees, which were totally unknown in most of the organizations before in the digital avatar. So data, collaboration, and the computing powers of devices. So these three are also fueling things. So these are all converging together. So now, so as I was talking about this edge devices or edge computing, it has to be again AI ML driven so that you can really deliver what you were expected, because with a smaller workforce, but especially in the mutual fund or similar, where it is more a knowledge kind of industry, where the workforce is small, but you are handling huge amount of money, huge amount of volume of data. So this computing power with each individual has to be more, and also it has to be real time. So that's why these are becoming more and more critical and challenging.
Fascinating point that you've just made, Mr. Roy, and I'm very, very grateful for that. But because Mr. Reddy, I'm going to bring that to you. One of the major, or perhaps one of the principal applications of artificial intelligence, machine learning in your particular sector, the NBFC sector, is also about drawing a precise digital footprint of each customer, such as to be able to help institutions assist in reducing complexity for managers while dealing with specific customers. Like, for example, in fields like loan underwriting research, the computer method is more reliable than an individual, removing any human bias. In that sense of the word, how important are AI-infused, AI machine learning-infused endpoints and workstations and laptops today critical to accelerating the value journey for your particular organization as well as your particular sector?
Right. Um, the endpoints earlier used to be a rule-based endpoints in terms of protecting the endpoint. Now that I think no longer works because so it's rapidly changing the security technology. So the endpoints, you need to look at the processes that are running in the endpoints, the access that the endpoint is making, the networks that it is connecting to. So all of this need to be in real time to be analyzed to arrive at whether this is an appropriate access or not. So based on that, the actions need to be performed. So no longer rule-based endpoint applications could handle this. So it should have an AI-powered engine to perform these activities. So any of the operations that you perform from the endpoint need to be run through these processes, and then it should be allowed to access your applications. Or so otherwise this is going to be extremely difficult for the enterprises to control the propagation of be it ransomware or be it the security incidents that could be uh, performed by these endpoints.
Very, very interesting, because Mr. Roy, same question, and increasingly in a manner of, in a sense of the word, in a post-disruption reality of sorts, will this sector, and why does the sector need to rely on intelligence to power resilience? What is your view on that?
So as I was talking about this, each of these sectors, including asset management, NBFCs, financial
True.
banking, BFSI. So these are becoming more and more knowledge-driven industry, right? So where
Correct.
you see it's you are managing huge amount of money and trust,
Yes,
and with a
important.
very less workforce. Okay, so everybody first has to be data savvy, data driven. So that is one. And second is that it's not today, as you said, a lot of processes, loan underwriting or credit appraisal, where you try to eliminate the human biases. Because I see if I do human processes, which are loan underwriting or credit, there may be biases based on my previous uh, concepts or prejudices. So those are being eliminated by AI ML driven technologies. So it is very, very important today because each individual, so in order to handle the data and the capability to giving the capability of collaboration, so all this need to be really fueled by kind of a insight, right, to AI ML in a real sense, which today obviously we are moving towards that, but again it takes, I think, long time, because a lot of time we are using the term AI ML in a very loose manner. Because but real AI implementation will obviously, there are a lot of good work is being done, and so in point soft applications in these endpoints. So it is really the necessity of the day. Otherwise, it's not possible to really manage. And the way you see the other big techs are moving into the financial services domain. So they are delivering the technology, they are delivering the network effect, or network capability, a large user base, and this AI ML capability to mine, really mine their customers, their data, and offer the services which are aligned with them. So it is a de facto standard going to happen on various factors.
No, that's very true. Couldn't agree with you more, because Mr. Reddy, I now come to that one particular or that particular part of the segment where, well, we've established the fact that the modernization of business models will also require organizations to focus on the foundation, one of the foundational pillars, which is the modernization of the endpoint. In that sense of the word, Mr. Reddy, if you could, what is your prescriptive guidance to a new generation of IT leaders and CIOs on how they should even approach this journey? Because, well, this journey is a very fascinating one that has multiple opportunities and promises quite a bit, but it's also got its share of challenges. What is your prescriptive guidance to your peers on how they should even approach the journey of endpoint modernization or client modernization?
Right. So if you look at, I think you have to live with the fact that the endpoints are going to be not just your own endpoints. Probably you would allow employees to bring their own devices. So you have to live with that fact, and because your modern workforce would be insisting on using their own endpoints, so you should be prepared to allow your employees to carry these devices, and then put in systems and practices and technologies in place to enable them to work with any of these devices. And then you also need to be of the fact that these devices, because these devices come from any of the networks, so you should be wary of that, that okay, these networks may not be trusted networks, that through which these devices would be connecting to your corporate network or to your business applications. So you need to put in technologies in place so that the devices that are coming are untrusted, the networks that they are coming from are untrusted. So the technologies should be put with keeping these in mind. So you have now technologies that are available, which protects you from these kind of untrusted devices and untrusted networks.
Interesting, because Mr. Roy, I bring the same question to you. One of the principal needs for your particular sector, the BFSI sector, is the concept of resilience and trust, because that is foundational and existential to the sector. In that sense of the word, Mr. Roy, what, in your view, are the expectations from AI-infused endpoints to be able to help you craft and drive far more cyber secure ecosystems than perhaps we had about a couple of years back?
Yeah, so there we are today, as you said, most of us CIOs and IT leaders are faced with this multi-dimensional challenges. One side, there's a huge demand, or you have to force to obviously go to the path of digital transformation at a very rapid speed. So also customer expectation, internal as well as external customer expectation, and the cultural shift happening with the hybrid work from home kind of. So it's very fluid and dynamic situation. It can be, so you have to equip every individual to work from any place, as Raghunath said, including devices. So one of the new things is coming up is a zero trust concept.
Indeed.
That is going to be in place, because you can now allow, there's no perimeter, no specific devices, because you cannot control devices by complying devices. So most of us used to have a nightmare, or each have each device. How do you control? How do you really? And even if 1% slippage is a threat to you, so you cannot. A hacker can come in through 1% gap wherever you are not complying with that. So zero trust into coming into big way. And at the same time, you have to provide, as I told you, as a computing ability as well as AI or ML driven ability to the edge or endpoint devices, so that user can manage huge volume of data intelligently, real time, and also can collaborate. And another dimension is that, as Raghu said, the security, which is the prime importance for any of the financial sector, because where trust is the foundation. So without trust, companies, we don't exist, right? So trust of the trustees, trust of the customers, the trust is underlying. So all this need to be addressed. So it's a very, very fascinating scene ahead, but equally challenging. There's no doubt.
Well, then, I do have a view on the clock, and I do know that you gentlemen have schedules ahead. In conclusion, Mr. Reddy, this is a very fairly expansive question, which you can choose to articulate your view on this. As you look into the future, especially for your sector, how do you see the role of technology, especially the endpoint, which is infused with artificial intelligence and machine learning capabilities, power you on a journey? What do you see as the end outcome of that journey over the next, let's say, 2 or 3 years? Where will the sector be in about 3 years with the aid of technology?
Arjun, we are losing you. Could you repeat your question? It was breaking.
Sorry, I beg your pardon. My question really was, as you look into the future, with the aid of technology, where do you see this journey taking the sector?
Okay, so see the organizations with enabling their business process to be accessed anytime, anywhere from at any point of time. So you're enabling your business process to be run across the, I mean, throughout the day and then from anywhere. So you are, your business operations are more resilient. It could be able to withstand any of the business interruptions that you otherwise would have planned. So that I think in the last 2 years have proved that you could be resilient and then perform your operations. Okay, that continues to grow going forward. So it is going to also, if the organization start looking at some of these businesses, if it can be permanently done from remotely, so that could probably reduce your cost of operation, so which could then improve your bottom line. And also from the productivity perspective, of course, there are multiple I mean, pros and cons in terms of whether that is more productive from work from home or more productive from office. So depending upon the organizations, probably that also could lead to reduction in costs, and probably your productivity improvement, which could finally turn into your improved revenues also. So I could see that these things happening in the next 2 to 3 years for most of the financial services organizations.
Fantastic. No, I couldn't agree more with both of you gentlemen. But that's pretty much what we have time for in this particular segment. Mr. Roy, Mr. Reddy, it has been delightful conversing with you and sharing in your rich views and perspectives and experience. Thank you so much for taking out the time to join us for this event, sir. Mr. Roy, thank you. Mr. Reddy, equally, thank you so much.
Thanks, Arjun.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. And for the audience, that was I, Arjun Vishwanathan, in conversation with Shubhajit Roy and Raghunath Reddy in the financial sector. Stay tuned and we'll be back with the next segment in just a moment.
Thank you very much, Raghunath, Shubhajit, and Arjun, for that immensely enriching and insightful conversation. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we shall now move forward to our next panel, which is on unlocking innovation. And I'd like to welcome Mr. Sudhir Nair, Senior Manager, Client Solutions Group for Dell Technologies, who's in a conversation with Arjun Vishwanathan, Chief Knowledge Officer, Strategy. I'd once again like to hand it over to Arjun.
Hello and welcome back. As you're aware, the BFSI industry is witnessing a paradigm shift, thanks to the role that technology is playing, along with emerging technologies which underlie the infrastructure layer, such as artificial intelligence and machine learning, which in a sense of the word, are pretty much the ways of the future as far as the financial sector is concerned. One of the major applications of AI in the BFSI sector is enhancing personalized customer engagement. And to talk to me about all of this and the innovation that's happening at Dell Technologies, please put your hands together to welcome Sudhir Nair, Senior Manager, CSG Sales, Dell Technologies. Sudhir, welcome and delighted to have you.
Thanks a lot for inviting me to your session. It's a pleasure to be able to share industry insights and how things are shaping in the BFSI space, especially post-pandemic. So
absolutely, which is why my first question to you is, Sudhir, we've had learnings over the last 2 years, specifically for the financial sector. Why does modernization of the business become an imperative in the BFSI space? And therefore, why does technology and endpoint modernization become equally critical?
So if you go traditionally back to how BFSI has been from a endpoint perspective, or in terms of enabling productivity and end user engagement, it's been very driven by the TCO in terms of keeping a lean and mean P&L and keeping your costs very low. But if you look at the last, even before the pandemic, things shifted drastically in terms of how people were working. There's a lot of flexi work that's already had started coming in, but it got accelerated a lot by the pandemic. So if you look at it today, the best approach that I would recommend to anyone would be a modernized approach that focuses on improving user experience and IT environments. Now, here we are having two people, at the center of the conversation. One is your employees, who are your extended arm. And the second part of it is your IT organization. Both of it needs to become agile both of them, you need to bring a lot of automation, and you need to give the power into the hands of the user rather than keep it with the IT, so that you can free up a lot of time and energy for innovation to come in through your IT organization. So at the very basic level, if you see, when you look at the modern approach, which is about improving user experience in IT environments, it's a basic enabler today to attract the best talent and to thrive in the hybrid world.
Of course.
This is very, very important because you have the best talent, automatically innovation is inbuilt, in your organization. Because today you have a lot of those Gen Zs, millennials, who are bubbling with new ideas and new thoughts, and they want to express themselves. And if you're able to provide that platform, you automatically, your organization has become rich in terms of new thoughts, new ideas, and new things that you could go out and execute into the market. It creates a clear differentiation in the market, and today it is something that you must have. Now, for doing this, you need to embrace the future of work. And when we say future of work, there are two important things. One is accelerate the hybrid work by modernizing your IT. This is the first thing. The reason for this is that 91% of end users feel empowered in the workplace when they have access to the right technology. So by just giving them the right tools, you empowered them and you have unlocked their potential to be innovative. So that's the first part. And the second part is delivering intelligent user experiences that spark creativity and ignite innovation. And you can do this by modernizing your workspaces. So if you look at recently published white papers, they indicate that there's a 21% increase in employee productivity for leading organizations which have adopted the digital workspace. So that's a clear, you're setting the platform itself, for growth and for innovation by going and changing the dynamics in the BFSI sector today. So moving from a TCO model, you're putting your employees at the center of this innovation that is happening today. And you're saying that technology is not important, it is the people who are important. And it's a big statement you're making to your employees. Now, delivering a modernized and intelligent user experience actually empowers meaningful work and innovation everywhere. When we say everywhere, it's very important because in a hybrid workplace, you have people who are moving from office to home to public places. They're working everywhere. And today, if you look at it, people may not always come back to office. They may come back only twice or thrice.
Indeed.
And it's important that in a hyper distributed world, if you want your next breakthrough in the industry, you need the ability to innovate from anywhere. Be it home, be it office, be it remote work, everywhere you should have. And therefore, we believe that the breakthrough will happen at the intersection of people and technology. That is what we believe. So with continued emphasis on employee experience, we would recommend that you develop a scalable technology which is focused on personalized performance, collaboration, and on connectivity. These are the three basic elements that we are seeing that is shaping the BFSI industry today. That you're looking at what is that personalized performance that you're going to give to each and every user. Okay, and this is all because of this movement that is happening of work from anywhere, anytime culture.
No, I couldn't agree more with you, Sudhir, because I have a supplementary question to that, one which leads into the whole concepts of how today, and like you so supremely articulated, we are living in the ecosystem of a distributed workforce. And therefore, there's tons of data that's getting generated on the endpoint, irrespective of where the employee or the contract staff is based out of geographically. In that sense of the word, how do precision workstations or laptops that are infused with AI and machine learning features in the underlying software layer significantly help the cause of innovation in the BFSI sector today?
We at Dell, what we believe is today there are so many distractions when people are working remotely and they're working from home. And believe me, I've been a part of it, so I know it very well. It's very difficult to keep your focus. So how do you ensure that your employee remains engaged in his work? And you can remove distractions. The first part of it is removing distractions. So what we at Dell have done is we've actually looked at an AI ML based engine that will actually enhance performance, enable better connectivity, help people to get more battery time out of their systems, create an ecosystem where they are more secure, especially senior execs if they are working remotely or in a public place or they're traveling. All of this is being built through an AI/ML engine, and it's called the Dell Optimizer. So what it focuses on is it allows you to individually every user to select 5 applications that are more important to them. And that's why we said personalized, right? So what is more important to that particular user, they can select those 5 applications, put it into the AI/ML engine for it to understand what resources are more required for each of them. Is it storage, IOPS? Is it CPU performance? Is it graphics acceleration? Or is it memory? And once the engine is able to understand, the AI/ML engine is able to understand what are the needs, whenever the application comes in the forefront, it automatically provides those resources. So no IT intervention, no user intervention. The machine is learning on its own and providing those resources. That's the first part of it, and we call it express response as one module of the Dell Optimizer. The second is Express Connect. Is basically today the biggest challenge for productivity is in terms of how do you ensure a reliable connection with high quality bandwidth. Okay, for that, Express Connect actually searches all along your office and in your environment and detects the best access point, which will give the maximum quality signals. It maintains this quality of signals, it maintains that bandwidth, and therefore you would find improved performance anywhere from around about 12% to 25% is the increase or the betterment of performance and stability in the bandwidth. And that is enough to get more people to be more innovative. And let me say it why. In a conference call today, if you are remote and you are not able to share your ideas and thoughts, you're killing innovation. You're killing new thoughts and ideas which could help your organization to grow and prosper. And by providing that platform and removing those irritants, you are ensuring that your employee is able to contribute to your organizational success. Also, we understand that today, because of collaborative tools being used a lot, the quality of audio, video is very important. So what we do is we have something which is also removing background noise, removing echo, and it decides where you're sitting. If you're sitting in a quiet room, if there is echo, it will remove the echo. If you're sitting at home and your window is open and there is a noise of a dog barking, it'll mute that, so that you are completely involved and the people who are listening to you are able to hear you crystal clear. All of this is based on AI/ML. And on the precision workstations, what we're doing is we have the optimizer for precision, the Dell Optimizer for precision, and it actually works on graphics acceleration. It works on IOPS improvement and make sure that depending on your ISV application, it gives you the best of breed performance. So all across the latitude and this, I only talked about 3 of the elements. There is one was Express Connect, one was Express Response. We have Express Sign In, which is basically allowing a user to sign in based on his presence or absence in front of the system. And therefore, you also have security built in, and it's also about instant access on, right? So that is another element of it. And another element that I would bring in is the battery. How many systems actually understand how people work and what times they work, and therefore provides battery, which is of the most
Hello, Sudhir.
Yeah, sorry. So suppose in the evening, if it has understood that you are going to be working between 5 and 6, which is the maximum productive time for you, it will actually conserve battery for that usage, and it will provide you that by possibly dimming the lights at other times, muting the applications that are running in the background. So this time,
I think we've got Sudhir on a patchy network.
yeah, I'm extremely sorry about that.
No,
So it ensures that your employee remains engaged in their work, and therefore you are able to get more productivity. Because he's engaged, he's able to innovate, share ideas, bring new thought process. And this is one part on the system, on the device. And on the other side is where you have IT, where if you can bring in automation over there,
course.
You're actually allowing them to innovate and bring new thought process and new strategies into the workplace. So on both the ends, not that we bring to the table.
Well, it's actually splendid, but I do have a view on the clock. Sudhir, and my question to you, therefore, is as you stand today at Dell Technologies, how are you assessing the role of playing partners in progress to the BFSI industry to help them in a consultative manner to take on newer challenges, seize newer opportunities as you move along into the future in a symbiotic manner?
For us, what is very important is our customers and our partner ecosystem, and how we can bring both of them together. So one of the things that we are doing, is a collaboration with NVIDIA, where Dell Technologies and NVIDIA has actually brought out a new AI reference architecture. And this combines the Dell Precision 7920 Tower Data Science Workstation with NVIDIA GPUs and an Isilon storage for smaller data science teams of up to 5 workstations. Now, why is it important today is that every organization, especially in BFSI, the time to market is very short, and you need to bring in competitive edge over there. And if you are able to collect market intelligence and create data insights out of that, you're able to roll out products much faster. And something like the Dell Data Science Workstation ideally helps you to get enterprise class, high performance development platforms, flexible for both AI ML with, I would say, data lake and enterprise model experimentation and development. So these are small ones which you start small, and then you could scale as your business scales or your use case scales up, and you could then take it to the data center. So here we are actually working very closely with our ecosystem partners, Intel, NVIDIA, and these are things where we have been working for the last close to about a year and more. And we believe that this type of solutions, where it's not just about the device, it's about the entire ecosystem and how we can partner with you to bring those meaningful insights, which will help you to be more, I would say, competitive in the marketplace. That is where we bring value.
No, I couldn't agree more. And the future, like you've so supremely articulated, Sudhir, certainly seems bright. Thanks to Dell Technologies. It has been a pleasure speaking with you, Sudhir. Thank you for your very nuanced articulation. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
It was a delight speaking with you.
Pleasure always. Thanks a lot for this opportunity.
All the very best. That was Sudhir Nair from Dell Technologies in conversation with me. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a moment with the next segment.
Thank you very much, Sudhir and Arjun, for sharing those gems of insight. Ladies and gentlemen, with that, it's a wrap. I hope that you found the AI Imperatives Unlocking the Future of Finance webinar informative and insightful. Thank you all once again for joining us today. I thank you on behalf of Dell Technologies, Intel, and Strategy. I would also request you to please take a few moments of your time and fill out the feedback form. Your feedback will help us enhance the content, structure, and delivery of our conferences. So please feel free to mention any recommendations or suggestions that you have for us. And with that, we look forward to welcoming you for upcoming conferences and webinars. Until then, stay safe, stay healthy, and do enjoy the rest of your day ahead.